say about their markets. There's just some very broad themes. So across the board, people are seeing a sort of recovery in offices. It is very much restricted to the prime end of everybody's markets. So we're starting, the very best space is letting. We're starting to see in the very best cities development, or people start to think about development and rents starting to rise, certainly in locations like London, the very big cities. Another theme was in residential markets. A lot of European governments have put in place rent controls because across Europe there is a shortage of housing. Um, and that has driven rents up, and governments have tried to control rents by putting in all sorts of different caps. And in all of the countries, that has essentially resulted in a collapse of the investment markets, and more seriously, a cease of construction, so no new construction. So it has actually been counterproductive because there is now no new supply of residential units. Another theme was that retail is kind of holding steady. It's neither going up nor down. There are some big centers trading. There are some big deals being done because retail is steady and people are confident of the pricing. So there were big deals. We did one in Ireland. There was another big one in Poland. So very large assets are changing hands, which is not something we're seeing in other markets because there's a bit more uncertainty. And then finally, in the logistics and industrial markets, we're starting to see the beginnings of a bit of oversupply. And obviously, the kind of tariff situation is impacting on producers' plans in Europe. Anecdotally, we'd one anecdote of Chinese manufacturers looking for space in Europe in order to avoid the tariffs on China and be seen to produce goods in Europe. But of course, Europe is still subject to some tariffs from the US. But I think the boom that we'd seen post-COVID in logistics units seems to perhaps be reaching a bit of a plateau. So in very broad terms, that's the kind of picture from Europe. Just in case that's interesting for you. I don't know if one of you wants to volunteer just to cover your market.
Well, just a small brief regarding Mexico. We all know about all the tariffs that Trump has put to several countries. So this has affected Mexico investment, foreign direct investment, for sure. I mean, for this first quarter, we saw very slow movement of investments, to be honest. Now Mexico is negotiating regarding the automotive parts. As you know, Mexico is very well connected to the US and Canada with the USMCA agreement. And this has a lot of advantages, but with these tariffs, puts us in another number of a number or another place. I could say, no. It's been difficult for us this first quarter, no, with uncertainty of what is going to happen. But we believe that at the end, Trump is going to take out all the tariffs for Mexico regarding aluminum and for the automotive industry. That's what we are looking, and what I believe yesterday we saw something regarding this kind of tariffs for the automotive industry that are going to be out, and that they will continue with the USMCA. If this happens, then Mexico will have another nearshoring effect that it would be like we're saying or mentioning with our colleagues that it would be like the nearshoring 2.0, no? Because then other countries will have tariffs except Mexico and Canada. So I think that would be the best for the region, no, to grow and to have foreign direct investment. That is what is happening. I mean, even though we have some investments, we expected that we had more. But at the end, if this tariffs goes out and we continue with the USMCA, then we will have the nearshoring 2.0. That's a small brief. The most important things that are happening here in Mexico.
Yeah. No, well, thank you, and fingers crossed. You know that that happens for the Mexican market.
Okay,
Francisco, I'm happy to go after you or before, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I will go. I will go next and leave you, Ray, afterwards. And I must say, I'm really happy for the Maple Leafs. Not that much for the Blue Jays as of now, but we're all moving forward with the sports, right? Regarding Costa Rica, well, I recall I mentioned some of you guys that Amazon is the biggest employer other than the government here in Costa Rica, and they requested their employees to go back to the office. So this has impacted positively the office space demand, and many other companies are willing to do just the same. So we don't have like a boom of demand on office space, but we are now looking forward into an stabilization because availability was around 20% for over 2 or 3 years after the pandemic, and it's slightly coming down because of the companies going back to the office, at least partially. They are not going 5 days a week to the office right now, but they are willing to go 3 times per week to the office, most of the companies at this moment. The industrial market has been very stable. Availability is below 5%. It's been like that like for decades, and during the pandemic was the only market that was pretty stable, pretty healthy. We hope that continues like that. Regarding the retail market, it depends on the region of the country. The greater metropolitan area is pretty healthy on this market, the retail one. But outside the greater metropolitan area, you find a very fluctuant market. Some regions close to the coastal touristic coasts in Costa Rica, they are doing good. Other regions are not that way. And finally, in the multifamily business, there's a phenomenon that is now being in place in Costa Rica. I know your markets are much more developed in these things about multifamily, but there are beginning to be funds investing in multifamily projects to own the entire building. That wasn't in place in Costa Rica in the past. So we're looking forward for more of these type of investments where the entire buildings are for rents and no units are for sale. And I've heard what you said, Ian, regarding the rent control. And I do believe that economically, it should be counterintuitive, right? Because if you place a tariff, then you impact the supply, or at least the intention of adding supply. So that will keep on having this issue, right?
Francisco, you said Amazon's the second largest employer next to government?
That's right. It's the second largest employer here in Costa Rica.
Wow.
Why is this?
It's not just Canadians that order too much online.
Well, the thing is that it's not like from the logistics side. It's more from the back office side that they grab many employees here.
Like call centers or so?
Call centers is a piece, but they also have financial services, marketing services, human resources services, all in place here in Costa Rica. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
And do you know how many? Sorry, do you know how many employers do they have?
I don't have the
Costa Rica?
precise number, but the last time that I spoke with a friend of mine, this amount was over 40,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Francisco.
Well,
thank
thoughts
you.
just
And
on Canada. We just had a federal election, so the same party is still in power, but new prime minister. So somebody that probably has a significantly different perspective on things than the past one. But it'll take a little time just to see if it's sort of more of the same, or hopefully somebody with a little more direction. So we'll see what happens there. Housing, I guess Canada brought in 1.2 million people in a country of 40 million last year, which had been contributing to the housing shortage. It basically prices out first-time home buyers, just lack of supply and high prices. So there's been a lot of noise, a lot of talk about trying to increase the housing supply, accelerate construction. That's continuing. We'll see what happens. I mean, frankly, with government charges for development charges and all, one builder I know, he said that his total contributions to various levels of government were like 30 to 33% on a condo building he built, which meant the buyers could have had a much smaller mortgage if government didn't have their hand in so many ways. Office market, Canada, I think I mentioned last time, we've been a laggard on getting people back to work in offices, 2 to 3 days a week, more 3 days a week now, but certainly not back to the way things were where it was 5 days a week. So traffic can be lighter, but not necessarily. I think people are busy going to the store or going out with their kids or doing whatever because there's still traffic, but they're not at their desks. I found I could go to the store midday or go to the gym occasionally, and there's a whole lot of people there on their phones that I guess are at work on their phones. Retail wise, so Hudson Bay Company chartered back in the 1600s. First big retail department store in Canada has declared bankruptcy. U.S. ownership. U.S. ownership did well on the real estate. They've closed the retail store. Probably just there is retail space available. On the other hand, people still seem to be shopping, so there does seem to be money flowing. If it's prime retail space, it seems to lease up. If somebody moves out, from what I can see without looking at the statistics, but just visually, not seeing a lot of vacancy. Don't know if any adjustments were made in rents or not. The industrial, our rental rates peaked into the low $20 per square foot per year net range, and they've come down 20-25%. From the peak. A lot of the institutional landlords try to maintain the higher levels on the face rent, but then they'll give it back on free rent, leasehold inducement, some other way. But certainly market has softened. Space is not leasing as quickly, and even I was showing some space, even smaller space, in the Colliers agent that has a couple of good portfolios. Listed large blocks of space with an institution. They were the listing agent, and they commented that even the smaller blocks of space that are good quality space, good shipping, good height, etc., are just they're not moving that fast. And we had a lot of big box space, big industrial logistics space built because the market got so tight, everybody jumped in and built, and now that space is still sitting, not moving that quickly, and they're offering incentives both to the tenants and the agents. The tariffs that you were talking about, Sven. I mean, that's certainly what everybody's watching. If you're not affected directly, you're affected indirectly. And so basically, anybody that has at least coming up for renewal and needs to make a decision is making it. But anybody that's looking at buying or um, if they don't have to make a decision, they're sitting tight. They're deferring making decisions. So it's going to be a little slower year for income. A few more coffee with drinking coffee with people and less getting things done, I think.
And on behalf of some proud Americans on this call, we do not reflect the views of our current administration. Okay. I just want to make that statement. Okay. We can move on. Oh, this is being recorded. Oh, I may have somebody at my door in the next couple.
You can delete this recording.
Exactly. You want to be careful. Well, thanks very much for that, everybody. The next item on the agenda was just around new affiliation, and there are some particular countries in the list here: Canada, Latin America. I don't know, Jonathan, if you're probably better placed than I am to comment on how we're doing in recruitment terms.
Yeah, so I'm going to the ICSC show in a couple of weeks in Las Vegas, and I've got a number of appointments with potential firms, which is a good thing. It doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily translate to CORFAC firms, but we'll have the conversations and we'll see where that goes. It's been a good recruiting ground in the past. Francisco, I keep sending notes to the gentleman we talked to in Brazil. I had lunch with him. He was in Chicago in February. I asked him why he came to Chicago in February. But it was a little cold. But anyway, I have not heard back from him. So I'll send you a note. Maybe you can send him an email and say just checking in. But when I had lunch with him, he seemed like he was ready to move forward. So we'll see where that goes. I had an inquiry, Ray, from a firm in Edmonton a month or two ago, but they're still part of NAI until fall. And I said, well, I'll check with you, in late summer. But he seemed quite interested. Now, Ray, I'll send you the name of the company.
Excellent.
Ray has been very good about sending me lists of new SIORs on a regular basis. And in there often, it says the person's name, the company, and the place they're from. So on occasion, they're not affiliated with some of the bigger brokerage houses, and I send notes to those folks. I sent a bunch of notes to firms in Spain and France about a month ago with, I think, one response, but I will follow up to that as well. So, the short answer is we're always, we're not just looking to put dots on a map. I mean, we want to make sure that the firms we talk to are good firms. But, as you talk to business people that around the world and in different markets where CORFAC doesn't have a firm, just think to ask them the question whether there might be a good fit there for us. But, we lost a few firms this year, but the traction in conversations with possible new firms is good.
Great, thank you. And then in terms of the next item was international events. So I think the principal one for this call would obviously be the fall conference. So I know, Ray, you had said you'd be able to come. Unfortunately, Esteban's trip to Amsterdam doesn't quite coincide. I don't know, Francisco, if you're going to be able to make Amsterdam. It would obviously be great to meet you in person.
Yes, I will not, but definitely someday I will love to meet you in person.
Oh no, well it's a long way to come in fairness. So, but yeah, no, look, I mean it should hopefully prove a good opportunity, certainly from the international members' perspective, to help drive home to some of our US colleagues, the breadth of the coverage outside of America. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to make some progress in that regard. Just more for your information, there is also a real estate show, Pravada, in Amsterdam, which is we've Amsterdam, a Netherlands affiliate who really make the running there. That is more of a continental Europe show. It's not one that we attend from Ireland either, but CORFAC is there and stand and is flying the flag to, there's all the usual international investors, your Blackstones and all the rest of them. And then Expo Real, which is Europe's largest event in October in Munich, where again we've got a stand. And I think a good number of the European firms, including ourselves from Ireland, will be there. And that is again, a great opportunity to get that CORFAC brand out there, and not only from a client perspective, but also from a new affiliate perspective. Just other initiatives, and I suppose this is again just looking at helping members leverage the international connections. In Europe, we're trying to just draft up a sort of single page market summary that would be easy for members to complete, that we can then consolidate into one report, which is good for social media and for you to share with your clients. The hope is that we can expand that, and that we can all issue reports from our various simple one-page reports from our various markets, maybe once a quarter, maybe twice a year. It helps us drive home to clients the breadth of CORFAC's coverage. It also, we have found, certainly in pitching for business here, that it is always helpful to be able to say, well, look, we have a affiliate in Mexico, we have an affiliate in California, or whatever the the situation demands. So we'll hopefully be in touch on that in due course. I think that another item that had been raised was trying to pull together a sort of target list for larger real estate occupiers and investors that we can try and target together. Now, again, we just need to think through exactly how that's going to work, and how that will operate across all of our various geographies. But again, just the concentration is on trying to get as much as we can out of our contact with each other. I don't know if there's anything else anybody else would like to raise on this call.
Ian, I would just add to what you just said. One of the things in the new strategic plan we did about 18 months ago was to have a bigger presence in front of occupiers, users, developers. And actually next month, we've got a developer panel Zoom session for all CORFAC members, and we'll send out a notice about it very soon. And we've got representation from Panattoni, from Ryan Companies, and from Dermody, which are three pretty big developers in the US. And the theme around the session is, what do those companies look for when they're looking for local brokerage companies to help them out in local markets? So it's very good. I've also got 2 or 3 or 4 appointments at that ICSC show in a couple of weeks with some developers, including Panattoni, Prologis, Ryan Companies, and some others. So, you know, I know that our members have relationships with those type of companies all around the world. And soon we're going to send them a piece, all of you, like a one-page piece that talks about CORFAC that you can share with those companies and say, hey, like you just said, Ian, we're a smaller shop here, but we're part of something bigger internationally.
That would be, I mean, that sounds great. That sort of thing, I think it'd be very helpful for us all. You know, for those sorts of size of investors and occupiers to have heard of CORFAC and just keep waving that banner.
Ian, my apologies for taking that call. It's been a client, my most important client for the last 30 years. And when the senior guy calls me, I take his call.
Oh, not at all.
I can't
It's
reach him back.
So do you
it's
take
all
his
fee
calls
earning
first?
work.
Do you take his calls first or Margie's?
His, and I'll say that in front of Margie.
That's great. So I think if there's nothing else, no, thanks to you all for your attendance, and I think we will be arranging another call for August time. Is that right, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'll coordinate with you, Ian, and see what dates work, and
Yeah.
we'll let you all know.
So hopefully we'll have a bit more progress on those few small items there, and we will send Esteban and Francisco the photos of whatever disgraceful behavior Ray gets up to in Amsterdam.
Perfect. That would be great. With a
With
good
Ian.
beer. With a Guinness.
Exactly.
It'll be a very short roll of film.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Cheers.
Nice to say
Bye-bye.
hi.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good seeing everybody.
Thank you.